I'm talking about this today.
Kind of a symbol.
Now, there are people out there, particularly this ding-dong and this doorknob, who are struggling with the idea that punching even a shitty person in the face is a bad idea. And since they're just struggling with it so much, I thought I would break it down simply. Imagine you could rule the whole world, and you could make any laws you want, and everyone would have to follow them. You have complete control. In fact, you have so much control that you can bend or even break those laws if you deem it necessary. And let's say that under your command, the world does become a wonderful utopia. You do all the right stuff under your control, all the bad people are punished, all the good people are rewarded. It's great. But every day someone's gonna die. So, when you, as complete ruler of the world, die, someone is gonna have to fill in for you. And you cannot be sure that they will think exactly the same way you do. In fact, they're guaranteed not to. When your reign of power ends, whoever comes after you could possibly bend the rules to their will instead. They could twist the laws you set to fit their needs and their idea of what's good and evil. The reason why Richard Spencer needs to be protected is not because he's a good person or his ideas are good. It's because if he's not protected, you're not protected. If he can be punched in the face, you can be punched in the face. Someday in some horrible future, your wonderful ideas might be considered evil. Do you want to be allowed to be punched for that? I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I hate this guy. I think he's a scummy piece of shit. I hate white nationalist ideas. I hate any sort of ethno-state ideas or ethnic purity ideas. I'm mixed race. So, I don't fit into the world of the people that think like him. I do think his ideas could be dangerous. I do think his ideas are harmful. And when I saw him got punched in the face, it did feel good to me. I'll admit it. I did not have empathy, and I do not have empathy for him. But, even so, his rights must be defended, because his rights are my rights. This one will be short because it's especially simple. Everyone loves a martyr. There's nothing that rallies people together like one. There's nothing that gets people more emotionally riled up and ready to kick back than being kicked themselves. A lot of times people have a victim complex already in place whether or not it's justified. And of course, when you justify it, they got more fodder. If your opposition is lying about bad things you've done, you have the hope of them being disproved. But if the complaints they have against you are actually true, then you're in trouble, because they have something now, and it's your fault because you handed it over to them with a pretty little bow. Every little bit of mileage he gets out of this was handed to him on a silver platter. As someone who doesn't want white nationalism to be a thing, I would like it if you didn't give him fodder and didn't help his cause. In the civil rights movement, this is what happened to peaceful protesters, and I mean actual peaceful protesters. They were faced with absolute burning hatred and ferocity and brutality and even death, and they still remained peaceful. Looking at the peaceful protests of the civil rights movement is really gut-wrenching, because even though these people were just fighting for their own rights, for their equality, and doing nothing wrong, they were attacked brutally, and even when they continued to not do anything wrong, not even defend themselves, they were still attacked. And you know what that did? That horrified and shocked people. Imagine looking at this and watching this. Even someone who was sort of on the fence, or who was for segregation but didn't have hatred, let's say, just discomfort with black people, could see this and be like, I don't really want integration, but I certainly don't want this. This is cruel. Their non-violence in the face of all this made the actions of the bad guys indefensible. Of course, I know sometimes there's no choice. I mean, obviously, the biggest example we can all go to is Hitler. He had a lot of power. He could put power behind his hateful words, and he could make them happen. Richard Spencer is just one dopey idiot. He can say all he wants, and not a lot is going to happen because of it. And I know someone might think, well, what if he does get power? This is how it starts. If we extinguish it now, we'll avoid another Hitler. But you can't think like that because you can't punish people based on hypotheticals. You have to look at him how he is now and deal with him how he is now. He's just one dumb idiot saying dumb idiot things. So imagine he's standing on a corner, spewing nonsense, saying bad things about everyone who's not white. And imagine if instead of being assaulted, he was shown courtesy and maybe even kindness. And not because he deserves it. Not because he's some great person who deserves the effort of kindness and courtesy, but because it's the right thing to do to make things right, if you understand. And again, I'll say, yeah, it can feel good to see someone you don't like get punched, but you know who does everything in their lives based on what feels good? Children and dumb people. Adults are supposed to have grown up enough to know that's not the best measure for everything.